Right, hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new lesson. And have I got a lesson for you today? Not only am I going to be giving you 5 tips all the way from driver down to putter, but I've brought along a special guest in the form of a certain Mr. Peter Finch, and you're going to fill us in with 3 of those 5 tips, Pete. We're going to start here. 3 of the 5 tips you've got to do.
Hang on. You got me on here to give tips to your subscribers.
Yes.
I'm just basically here to do your job. That's
very much so, yeah. It's, you know.
Wow.
So we're on the 10th hole at Formby Ladies Golf Club, and I want you to give us your top driver tips, sir. Then we'll be working down the hole here, which is a par 5, doing some iron tips, some pitching tips, chipping tips, finishing with a putting tip. But driver, what have you got for us?
I would say this is a slightly difficult one because obviously everyone's problem with a driver is different. You know, it is the hardest club to hit in the world, in the world. Yeah, we'll go in the world. So how about we just talk through how to actually get set up properly on the golf course while you're out here.
Perfect.
So, you know, you can work with your coach to figure out your golf swing. Work with Matt. He's a great coach. Now, well, he's so great, he gets other people to do his bloody job for him.
Exactly.
I remember this part. Right, so we've got a par 5 here. It's only a short one, but I'm going to give it a bash. And I want to be aiming basically just to the left of the 3rd bunker along. Okay, so the first thing I've done is establish my aim line, okay? The wind, non-existent, so it's going to be going pretty straight. He hopes. Remember, this isn't guaranteed. So that's my target line. Now, first thing I'm going to do is draw back in my mind's eye. Kind of got the driver up here pointing at that bunker, picking something just in front of my ball that I'm going to be lining the club face up to. Now this is the one thing which I really would like people to take away from this. How I'm actually getting set up to this. I've set the club face first, then my feet together pointing at the golf ball. Now I want to be hitting up on the driver, I don't want to be hitting down, I want to be getting a high launch, low spin. So what I'm going to do now, because I've got my club face set well, I know that's aiming correctly. All I'm going to do, feet pointing, I'm going to flare that foot out with a tiny step. I'm going to take a big step to the right, so I've got a nice stable base. And then I'm just going to add in that little bit of spine tilt. Now I know, because of that routine that I've actually gone through, that my alignment there to where I want to go to is absolutely bang on. That slight spine tilt away, and because of where the ball position is, that should allow me to hit up on the ball a little bit more.
Perfect.
Simple, really, isn't it?
So face aim first with an intermediate target.
Indeed. And I mean, the closer you can get that intermediate target, the better.
Easier it is to line up. Then body parallel to that.
Yeah, if you start with your feet together, I mean, that makes it so much easier. Obviously there's stuff that can go wrong, but it makes it so much easier to get everything nicely in line. I should be pretty well parallel to the centre of the fairway here. Just about there.
And really. That is perfect.
You know what?
Bouncing there in the middle.
I should really talk through every single golf shot that I hit. Yes, the hour would take 64 hours. Yes, the hour would take 64 hours.
The round.
The round. Whatever, mate. I've just performed a miracle for everyone driving around the world, okay? You let my slips of tongue go.
Let them slide.
I could just see all these ants kind of going into your ear.
Right, so we've had the driving tip. We're now going to head down onto the fairway and look at an iron tip. Then we're moving on to pitching, chipping and putting. Let's go and take a look at those right now. Okay, so part 2, irons. Now for me, the biggest thing that we've got to focus on with irons is getting a really solid strike. Probably the biggest thing I see from students is either hitting the ground before, thinning it, topping it, and just generally not really finding that meat of the club face. Usually it's somewhere around here, or like saying consistent contact down on the floor. And one thing that we've got to do to make sure we are getting good strikes is control the low point of our arc, and that generally falls below where the buttons are on my shirt here. So one of the reasons why we would get inconsistent strikes, if we use this cane here as an idea of where the low point is, in the backswing we would see that it changes quite a lot. So maybe that I would sway off the back and then maybe slide on the way through, or I could maintain a pretty centered position in my backswing, but then in my downswing I move back away from the target, all in an aid to try and help the golf ball up. And I would generally see that I would probably either bottom out early or come up over the golf ball. So when out on the golf course, a really nice simple little thing we can try and do, if we were at the range we'd place a cane in between our stance here, but in the golf course environment we'd want to try and feel that as we turn, if we imagined where the buttons are on my shirt and my sternum, as I swing up to the top now, I want to feel that I'm still level or sitting on top of this cane here. I don't want to feel that as I make my backswing I make an excessive movement where I'm going away from this centered point here. And then on the follow through, the reason why we've got the bottle here, like I say, with a lot of people, the idea of helping the golf ball up into the air forces them to move back, and what we get is something where we'd spin out and knock the bottle out here. So a really simple little drill, like I say, you can do at the range or on the golf course if you're really struggling with your strike. Take your setup, just see ball just slightly in front of centre for your 7-iron, middle of the body located on the cane. I want to swing up and stay on top of it. Then on the way down I want to feel I'm pushing away from the bottle with my trail foot, and then being able to go into my follow through where I feel now in front of the cane and noticing that I'm not knocking over this water bottle. If we're able to do this, we should start to see we get the club bottoming out at the right point and see that we get a really crisp strike. So nice and simple thought, stay centered in the backswing and turn into your follow through with all the weight going over your lead foot in the finish. Let's give it a go. See if we can get one of those crisp strikes we were talking about. So centered and move off it.
Sounded great.
And that is just what we want. Not bad at all in amongst the 100 seagulls there. I was going to say. So stay centered, then move your weight towards your target at the end of the swing. Let's go and have a look at some pitching from Peter Finch now. So on to pitching, Peter, and you're going to give us one of your top tips here, as you're quite lethal in this department.
You're just going to pass over the drive. Don't just pass over the drive.
Yeah, sorry, good drive. He did
par
exactly.
5 and I'm 115 yards into the pin. Okay.
It's a par 5 that's 420, so
Downhill.
Downhill.
A little bit downwind.
Downwind. Right, so 110 yards did you say this one is?
Yeah, 110. Now I'm going to hit a pitching wedge, which is probably not the normal club I would hit for this type of distance. If I wanted to get it high and stop him very quick, I'd hit my full out 54 for that, but I just want to show a bit more of a controlled swing, you know, which is available with all.
Yeah, quite tricky, the half shot, so
yeah,
3/4 swings.
Yeah, exactly, I would say so. And to be honest, we're not going to talk too much about swing length and all the rest of it, because you can look into that on your own. Check out Matt's channel, he's done 62 videos on pitching swing length that I've seen so far.
Plenty.
Maybe 40, maybe not that much, but all we're going to talk about here is just a bit about swing sequencing and how to actually get your body moving through the ball.
Okay.
So I'm a big fan of using the Tour Striker Smart Ball, so a ball that fits in between the arms.
Yeah.
Kind of syncs up the arms and the body movement. But there's a very quick way that you can get the feeling of this on the golf course as well. So this is only a half swing for me with a pitching wedge. And I'm just going to turn back, and there's nothing really too complicated with the backswing here, it's just my normal backswing, left arm's going to parallel on the ground. But what I'm going to start to do is just come into impact here. I'm going to push that little bit of weight down. But what I want to get the feeling of here is you can see how my shoulders, my hips and my knees, they've all pretty much returned to exactly the same spot. And then I'm going to turn the body again, hips, knees, shoulders synced up. Again, knees, hips, shoulders synced up. And then just try and continue to turn them in the same amount coming through the ball. So I think what a lot of people do, I mean, they get a little bit too overexcited as far as getting those hips turning through and actually forgetting to rotate the body. If you can rotate the body through, you can control the club face a little bit better. If you just turn the hips, these are rotated fully, but you can't quite clear the upper body that's what's going to be leading to a little bit of that flip as you start to come through with your pitching.
So trying to get the body working in one motion,
Exactly.
everything working a bit smoother and a bit slower all together.
Exactly, yeah. So you can just in that practice swing, so match them, match them, match them, match them, match your tee.
Matching it all up, body working in sync. I like it. As it is sometimes the hard one when we're trying to hit the half shot. We don't know, you know, do we make it the same as a full swing? But if we're slowing it down and making everything work as one.
And so often on half swing, I kind of see this about kind of left arm kind of parallel to the ground, that 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock position, whatever. I see so often go there and then go there. And then this just doesn't turn. It's like an arm swing, but you've got to get the body moving. The bigger muscles you can control the club face with. So little half swing. Match your tee.
That's a beautiful looking little pitch shot. So make sure all the body is matched up and synced as one. Let's go and take a look at some chipping. So chipping tips. A bit like what Peter said there, this is going to come into play about turning the body here. One of the things that I see most commonly is when we've got a little slope like this where I've only really got 10 to 11 feet to get from my ball up onto the green, but because there's some form of undulation, we now see it as a shot where I've really got to get it up in the air quickly. I try helping it up and real poor contact comes from here. We probably have the one where a lot of people would get into the, oh, got to make sure I get it up over the slope, and get that one where it duffs into it, and then sometimes it would probably end up rolling back down to our feet, or we'd blade it to the other side of the green. Now, one thing that we've got to try and do in the chipping, we've got to see that we set our body position first, then we're going to let the loft of the golf club actually get the elevation part of the shot sorted. We need to get the strike. If we can do that bit, we can control how it's going to fly, we control it how it lands, and hopefully we're going to see that it gets a little bit closer. So one drill that I like to do with my students to sort of emphasize how sometimes they're not quite in control of their balance and their turn throughout the chipping shot. As you saw probably in that little shot that I demonstrated, then we had the knees that were a little bit jumping, a little bit quick and excited, and I moved backwards. I caught the ground a little bit early, thus I duffed my chip. So one of the things I'd like you to do if you are someone who's struggling with striking your chips is take a setup where we would see generally two club heads width apart here. We're going to see more weight into our lead side. Again, we've got loads of loft on here, that's going to get it up. We need to make sure that we're getting that crisp contact, so weight into the lead foot is going to ensure that I get ball, then a little bit of grazing afterwards. I'm not looking for a big gouge out of the turf, I'm merely looking to brush it. But the part of the drill I want you to do then is, once you've taken this setup, is actually withdraw your trail foot and just place it onto your tiptoe. With me now having most of my weight into this lead foot, any movement back here, I'm going to fall away from it. So what I have to learn to do in this position is learn to keep my balance and be able to turn and get my body looking to target. Notice how my hips and my chest are pretty much looking at where my landing spot would be near this other ball. I'm not moving back and trying to help it up here. So the drill being set up, loads of weight in your lead foot, just a tiptoe here, and getting used to this little brush and turn, brush and turn. Once we're then comfortable with that, pick your landing spot a couple of feet onto the green, take the setup, allow the loft now to lift the ball up in the air. You're going to concentrate on the strike, the brush and turn, and pretty much just do it like that every time.
Delightful.
Beautiful little tap in there. So not seeing that I'm falling back and losing all my balance, brush and turn, and then when you actually get back into hitting a normal shot, just focus on the same thing again. Let's see that we've got weight forwards, brush and turn, keep the weight there. Oof. And two really crisp little chip shots there.
Chip on one foot, mate.
Chip on one foot, a little bit better, yeah. Guys, let's go on to putting now and see what Pete's got to say to help us hold a few more putts. So putting, Peter, I would say you're quite a decent putter when it needs to be held, when we've got those ones that are 10 feet that keep the round going.
Yeah.
What's your secret to those?
I'm getting better at that.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at that. Now, to be honest, my improvement within this distance this year has been really, really good, and it has nothing to do with technique. Like, literally nothing to do with technique at all. It's more what's kind of going on up in my head.
Oof.
Because I think so many people, when they get over this distance, it's not so much about having a really good technique, because if you think about over this distance, the putter's really only going to be moving, what, that much in totality? There's only so much that can go wrong in this amount of space, and you think about all the different types of putting strokes that are out there. There's a million different ways to actually get the blade square and impact where you want it to go. You know, it's not that difficult if you think about it. The only problem is people do think about it, and that's where a lot of the actually issues start to come from. Now, I did a session a few weeks ago with Lee Cromwellholme, so sports psychologist, and kind of works with many of the tour players. And he got me doing, and this is something which I would recommend to absolutely everybody when out on the golf course, is rather than, well, certainly for me, I don't line the ball up, I just want to see something on the ball. So you can see how I've turned the Titleist logo up to face me here. So it's not helping me align the putter really. I use the PIX ball normally, so I can just focus on one of those dots on the top. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through my normal routine of kind of picking where the ball's going to break. It looks like it's a tiny bit left to right. Awkward putt this is. So I'm going to have to go kind of inside left. So I'm just going to pick something in front of my ball again that I want the ball to go over. So similar to what we're doing with the tee shot. I'm going to move in, feet together, get settled in, and at this point there's literally no technique going on in my head. I'm focusing with quite a furious intensity, if you want to think about it like that, my eyes on the Titleist logo, just really focusing on that, like trying to bore my eyes into the ball through that point. Okay, now what that does, and this is a quite a unique thing within
as easy as that.
This is that quite a unique thing really within the brain, is if you give it something very specific to focus on, so just like the logo on the ball, a mark on the ball, whatever it may be, if you focus all your intensity on that, it actually takes a lot of the energy, a lot of the thinking that you do, and focuses it on that point. So when you're thinking about being nervous over a putt and stuff like that, that actually starts to go away when you do this. It's very simple. Have you seen the focus bands that people use?
Yeah.
It's basically shown to shift the focus a lot more subconsciously rather than being conscious.
Yeah, internal, external focus.
And it's crazy really how such a simple thing.
I think it was it Louis Oosthuizen who had, when he won the Open, had a little dot on his golf ball, and he worked with Lee, didn't he? So. And it's such a weird thing. Just go through that same routine again, and if you really focus with that amount of intensity on the ball, when you actually hit it, the ball, oh, this is going to be impressive. I'm trying to see through the mic now. That's how intense this is going to be. Oh. Caught the flag, that one.
Caught the flag. If you actually focus on it with that intensity, a lot of people, how they look up after the ball, really trying to see it go in quickly. If you use this drill, your eyes actually stay focused on the green. You can start to rotate those shoulders a little bit more rather than kind of lifting and jilting. It sounds so simple, but trust me, it really works.
It's what we need. Simple tips.
Really works.
Simple tips. Let's see one more then. Let's roll it in.
Okay.
Got his line. He's picked his spot on the golf ball.
So I'm just going to focus on the number here.
Maybe draw a dot, focus on the number, whatever it may be that works for you.
Felt pushy?
Just a little bit, just caught, I don't know if it caught the edge of the golf ball there, because obviously they're not fully down at the moment.
Can you just replay the first putt?
Yeah, I will do, yeah.
Appreciate that, thanks.
Guys, so there we have it. We have 5 golf tips that are so easy to do and so easy to implement into your golf game that are going to help you lower your scores. A big thank you to this man here, Mr. Peter Finch. If you don't already, go and subscribe to his channel. Extraordinary content over there, some great stuff that we filmed at Formby Ladies today. As always, hit that bell button down below so you're not missing any of your future golf lessons. I want you to get better. Let's do it together. See you in the next lesson.
By the way, did you just say extraordinary content?
Extraordinary. I'm being nice today.
Thank you.